Hello, and thank you so much for joining us on the Q Agenda.
Hi, Lianna. I'm super happy to be here on the Q Agenda. I wish I was there with you. I don't know. It looks very cozy and like you're about to have a party, but it's COVID.
I love that. Whatever you want to read into my background that makes me cooler, I appreciate that. Where are you right now? Are you in Miami?
I am in Miami, Florida.
Okay, great. I have a lot of family in Miami. A lot of Cubans.
3 or 5.
Yeah, 3 or I am half. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm Amazonian, Venezuelan. But Miami welcomes everybody.
I love that about Miami. And I love that about you, that you've had such an amazing career, and you're parlaying it into for good causes. And we want to know about that. We want to know more about that. Tell us about your nonprofit and how you're working with the UN and how that started for you.
Wow. So Goleadoras, girls with balls. And it started with girls with balls. So you think girls have balls, should have balls, and we'll always have balls. So why not put it together and bring it into the community that we can all score goals and change the game for not only just girls, but for many of us as a society in general. It promotes through this wonderful instrument that is soccer, a transformation in the mindsets, in the lives, and in the approaches that we can have for girls and women, and it has a ripple effect. So it's a life mission. I started about 10 years ago, but I grew up in the Amazons, and I think you can always bring the girl out of the Amazon, but you can never take the Amazon out of the girl. Even though, as you say, I'm very grateful for a wonderful run in the entertainment business and having a career and having a platform and a microphone. But I think every privilege comes with responsibility. So to be able to use that platform to promote empathy and collaboration and the wonderful things that we can do when we work together, and how we can make history. So I think it's a miracle to be here on planet Earth, to have life and to appreciate it and to actually be able to serve. We're not here just to have a free ticket and breathe and shit and talk shit about everything and complain and not to get along and be able to judge everybody else. And it creates this composition of the social tissue that I'm just trying to, with a simple solution, very economical, high impact, highly scalable and sustainable, to be able to create that dialogue, that rebuild that social tissue, and instill those values of collaboration, of teamwork, especially for girls, that sometimes we become our worst enemies. So at a very young age. So we're still on the works. And I'm not saying in any pretentious way that it's a solution to the world's problem. But hey, we all have to figure out and use our creativity to promote ideas that will help us coexist.
Yeah, and those are beautiful sentiments, so much packed into what you just said. Were you a soccer player or a football player? Excuse me. How did you get that inspiration, all that from? Why football?
So the funny thing is that my father is an explorer, and I grew up and I was born and conceived in the Amazons in Venezuela, in the South American Amazon. And besides my mom and my dad, the only other people that were there were the natives that were 6 hours away on a canoe, and they did not speak my same language. They were not dressed like me. They had very different traditions than I had, but I had a soccer ball. And through that universal language that could be music, art, and sports, we created a bond. We started sharing traditions, information, laughs, failures, cries, and you create a common respect and understanding for people that are not just like you.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of it does. It reminds me of, I went to college in a small town in Virginia in the South. And we had our first Pride there, and it was just us and like 4 of us in a booth, and there was more protesters than there were of us when I was in college. And I remember this family had signs that just said, like, you're going to hell and da-da-da, and they had their little kids holding their signs too. And it broke my heart. I didn't know what I could do, so I walked up to one of them with a kickball And I said, do you want to play kickball? And the kids were like, yes, you know, they were so happy to play kickball. And the parents were like, this is so awkward. And so that's totally it.
It's something so simple. Listen, you know, I see the wars happening, and it all started when I'm coming from Venezuela, seeing a country that about 20 years ago started having a very hard social discomposition through leaders that were, you know, that typical, very common way of divide and conquer. So you're in misery because they're rich and they're taking your opportunities. And I think, you know, the richness is not, for me, is not equivalent to the accumulation of wealth that you can have. Richness is it's from the heart, it's from your mind. If si eres un mediocre, vas a ser un mediocre el resto de tu vida y eres un pobre diablo. Por más que tengas whatever assets or accessories you can add to your life, you still gonna be a pobre diablo. And that's why I started my podcast, The Zingg. It's about, like, you know, there's so many information out there, but in a way that you can, for me, it's the first time that I can have the freedom to be able to express my curiosities with no pretensions of having any kind of solutions or absolutely anything, but to start these conversations. And it's, at this point, I just turned 40 years old 2 weeks ago. And, you know, it makes you at some point to, like, reflect and things. And for me, more than a reflection, has been a connection of how, like, okay, why are so many more, you know, especially for women, they say, if you go from modeling to entertainment, or it's very predictable, or either if you change the social impact, then it's then you're a little bit unstable, because that's not the track that you're supposed to follow. But you have multidisciplines, and women, most of us are like multitaskers. And every human being, even Shakespeare will say, every man plays a role at some point of their life, and you play 7 parts. You know, when you're a kid, and when you're an adolescent, and then when you're a young adult, and then when you're older, and then when you become a baby again. So we all play the same parts. It's what you want to do with them. So
I'm so happy you have The Zingg, so that people can hear a different side of you. It almost sounds like maybe you felt a little pigeonholed in different roles. It's not even fully yourself.
Yeah, it's not even a different side. It's me. It's like, how could you know? How is it that I was not being able to translate or to communicate who I am, who I am?
I don't know, with words and thoughts like that. I'm so happy that you found an outlet.
I'm super happy I found an outlet, but what I'm trying to say is that it's also been a process of evolution, or a process of starting something that from your gut you wanted to do it, and, you know, it channeled you and took you in paths that it was going to help your purpose. But then connecting the dots, you know, fashion is a universal expression and language, and it's a huge industry. It's most of the time portrayed as something very cold or distant, but it is our most natural expression, how we dress, how we look. And and then music, which is this incredible universal language. When words fail, you have music to play. And then soccer. So for me, it's just about creating those languages that always keep the same common denominator of, we humans have more things in common than divide us.
Then we don't. That's right.
And we're all different, and that's the beauty of the different layers and colors and ideas and traditions. But if we don't get to understand each other, at least we have the universal human right to being respected, and to have the freedom to think, express, love whoever we want to love.
Yeah, we have kids, and we're going through that right now, they want to be the same as everybody else, you know, and our family's different. And so we're like, our family's different. They could think it's terrible. It's the worst thing that's happened, but we know it's the best thing that's happened to them. When they get older, they'll see. And we're also putting some of our stuff on them. Like, we're afraid for them, what's going to happen when they start sharing with their friends. We just had a birthday party with the school friends last week for the first time. So we kind of like came out, you know, like in that way. And so it's amazing, because they say to teach your kids, what you learn late, teach them early. And it sounds like, and that sentiment is that you said is so true, that we all have more in common than we don't. And if we could live our truth, and everyone is different, everyone's a human, you know, if we could just respect each other's differences and see each other's beauty, how amazing that would be.
The thing is that the system and the society puts you in different ranks of hierarchy of who's like, the other day somebody told me, I was like, oh no, so lesbian and then the normals. And I was like, ah! like who is the one who establishes what normalizes things? And
exactly,
it's a system, and we're trying to fit a system that is not making us happy. So I think it's my main purpose in having this platform, to be able to create conversations, express my curiosities. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is right. I'm just asking questions. Like, why would something be normal, and why would something be not normal? Just by the fact that you're labeling it as normal, is like,
right.
How
Typical.
boring. How boring, like, and how boring it is to be. And I along my process, I see many women and many men going through the same difficulties. I guess you have checked all your boxes. You've graduated, you've been a good person, you've formed a family, you blah blah blah, and then you ask yourself, who am I? What am I here for? Like, it comes to this midlife crisis and this depression and this uncertainty, and there's so much pressure for kids. My nephew got a Peacemaker Award about last week, and 2 days after, he sent a text message with a picture of a cartoon to this girl who's in his school, in his class, and apparently him and the girl did not get along. But he's 8-9 years old. He's very obedient, and he tries his best, and he has a lot of pressure. The parents are getting divorced. The kid is, like, you know, getting good grades in school, you know, taking care of his little brother, and he gets a Peacemaker Award. And just because of the fact he sends a picture that didn't imply any kind of violence, any kind of bullying, nothing, he gets detention. He was traumatized. He came to my house for Mother's Day, and I see my nephew, who's very responsible and very traumatized that, you know, he's getting detention, and, you know, it was like, he doesn't know. I was like, why do you got detention? The kid didn't know why he got detention. I didn't know what I got detention. And because I'm a big firecracker, I was like, I want to go talk to the principal, because how are you forming the conduct of a young kid that you're telling him he did something wrong and he doesn't understand? What is it that he did wrong? A father of a little girl who, you know, and I'm always in support of the justice. And if it was my nephew, I would have told him, you did wrong. You go to timeout and you go to detention, and that's wrong. And you should not do it again, because it makes people feel bad. And, you know, you don't want to make people feel bad. He doesn't want to make people feel bad, but the school made him feel very, very bad, and gave the girl the possibility and the power to make him feel bad because of other things, not because he had implied in something that was bullying or violent or a cost to detention. So it was a very interesting conversation that brings me back to the idea of the system, that it builds you and tells you what is right or what's wrong. Life, it's about change. It's about movement. It's not black and white. It's not two boxes. One is good and one is bad, in my opinion. I'm not saying that that should be the opinion. But as humans, if we explore and we are a little bit open to understand that there are different layers, and there is beauty and wonder in things that are different, and makes us a great group of people, like soccer. You have a team, they're not all defense, they're not all goalies, they're not all goalkeepers. You have to have everybody in a different position, but working with a common goal.
That's beautiful. And I love that metaphor. I'll never watch soccer the same again. So this is our Pride episode, and I did want to ask you, where do you find your pride?
Where do I find my pride where do I find it? I don't know. I've never looked like, I find my pride when I see people that love each other, to have the freedom to love each other. And I think the pride comes when you have dignity to be who you are, to have their respect for yourself without guilt, without judgment, without being something normal or not.
And that answers my follow-up question too, as to where you would advise our viewers to find their pride. Do you think?
I don't know if I'm capable of giving advice to anybody.
Okay.
But I think, it's that little time that you take for yourself, to talk to yourself, to settle those beef with you, because ultimately it comes from within. The pride is not something that somebody else or any other person will give you. It's something that you give to yourself, and you drive yourself around with that essence of pride, of who you are, of what you love, and the ability to evolve and change and respect others.
That's a beautiful note to end on. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate that you're here.
Thank you so very much. Happy Pride to everybody. Thank you for having me in the Q agenda. I love it. And congratulations for the amazing work you guys are doing. So in any time, come on, join us at Girls with Balls at Goleadoras.
Would love that. All right.
And
Thank you so much. You're watching. Yes, you're watching the Q agenda.